and welcome to Jaclyn Does My Job. I'm your host, Jaclyn Friedlander, and on this show, I try out real jobs and then I talk to the pros to see what their job is really like. So whether you're considering a job change, deciding what to study in school, or just want to see me take on new challenges, you have come to the right place. This is Jaclyn Does My Job. On today's episode of Jaclyn Does My Job, I am going to be trying out what it's like to do some professional landscaping and gardening. And joining me today are Rusty and Stephanie.
Hi, Jaclyn.
Thank you both so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so a few weeks ago, we all went out together to Lake of the Woods, and I actually tried out some planting, and you sort of guided me through your job. How do you all think that went?
Hey, everything's still alive. It went really well.
And it's funny that you say that because you had said to me when I was there, you're going to want to come and see the plants that you created. And ultimately I did. I actually came back. I fed some koi. So I think we should take a look at how that adventure went. And then afterward, I have a bunch of questions for you about what it's actually like to do your job on a long-term basis, not just for a few minutes. So shall we watch that video?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right, let's take a look. For today's installment of Jaclyn Does My Job, I am here with Rusty and Stephanie and Avery, and we are going to be planting. So, Rusty, you lead the way. Tell me what to do.
All right. Well, these are great perennials, allium, and this is going to be also called a flowering onion.
Oh.
So it'll have a nice little purple ball flower towards the middle of summer, so think July.
Okay.
And really hardy, really low maintenance, which is a great thing. So the first thing we got to do is dig our holes.
Okay.
Now your depth needs to be about the same level as what the container is at.
Gotcha.
So we don't want to dig it too deep, but we do want to dig it wider. We want to be about 2 times the size of the actual container.
Gotcha.
Okay,
So about that deep and about...
Well, maybe not quite that wide, but close to it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
something like that. So we'll dig right in, and then after we got the hole dug, I'll show you how to get this pot out of here, or this plant out, and separate the roots a little.
Ooh, okay. And is there a secret to the digging? I remember planting peach trees as a kid and just jumping on the shovel, but is there more of a...
Leverage is your friend, so you just
Okay.
kind of want to get up on it and then dive on in.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And then just toss it to the side.
Should I move the pot out?
Yeah,
Because it's
just
supposed to go right there.
You got it. We want it to
Okay.
go right about there. So
Okay.
I kind of mark it, and then you know where to go.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, there's a little worm.
There are going to be hopefully lots of worms out here. Worms are actually the gardener's best friend, right, Stephanie?
Yes, sir.
And what is it that worms do that make them so special?
So this is one of the advantages of using mulch over stone as a mulch is it's organic matter, and the worms are going to drag that organic matter down into the soil and enrich the soil. Yeah, I got one over here too. That's actually a really great thing. So,
I always, whenever I find worms, like when I'm out on a walk, I always try and throw them back in soil. So I know that that's where they're supposed to be, but...
absolutely, you get a nice rain in the summer, and they all kind of crawl out, and some of them don't make it back.
Ah, right. Because the sun, right? The sun dries them out.
You got it. You got it.
Now, speaking of bug and animal care, I know that there are koi on this property as well. Can you talk a little bit about what you should and should not feed the koi?
Sure. So the koi in our pond, we have quite a few. I don't know exactly how many we have, but they like catfish food, which we have available to them. They also like regular Cheerios.
Okay.
Not the honey nut Cheerios, but regular Cheerios.
Gotcha.
And that is pretty much what they enjoy having. They can have a few other things. We have a sign over there that says what they can have, but they cannot have bread or rice.
Right.
Those things are not good for them. So
Awesome. And it's very important to heed the signs and only
Yes,
feed them
exactly.
what we're supposed to be feeding
Yes.
them, right?
You got it.
All right. How's my...
You're working on it.
How's it-
You're getting close. You're
Okay.
getting close.
Getting closer. I got distracted talking about fish.
If you come back just a little bit from the middle,
Okay,
and then
toward the
really,
middle?
Yep, and then just really jump on it. There you go. This was supposed to be the easy hole.
Right. I was going to say that it got a little, I don't know if it's rocks or
You've got some clay going.
clay. That's what
Yeah, well, you know what? Gardening is all about adapting, right? It's
Right.
about, this is what nature's going to give us, and this is what we're going to do.
And how do you know if it's good soil, besides if you see earthworms or not? If, you know, if you're, say, trying to plant something in your yard, how do you know if it's
Sure.
a good time to plant or not?
Actually, if you want to do soils, you dug up some good stuff right here. This isn't overly dry. If you can take your thumb and press against wet soil and it kind of forms a ribbon. Here, let me look down here for a second.
Okay. We're going to find some good soil.
Oh, well, actually, that right there, kind of see the discoloration? That's actually clay. That's, if you got a lot of clay, see how it's kind of sticking together as you rub your finger out? My high school FFA teacher is going to love this. It means you've got some thicker soil, and this organic matter is something you definitely want in there.
Gotcha.
This loose, friable soil, that is awesome. That's good gardening soil, nice silt loam. So that's fantastic. It has great color, good organic matter. There's a lot of plants that will grow well in that type of situation.
Okay, perfect.
So if you go just a little bit deeper, right where you're at.
All right.
And then there you go. And it's clean that out just a little bit, and I think we're just about ready to plant. Okay, here comes the fun part now. You got to get your hands dirty.
Okay. Someone gave me gloves, so I'm prepared.
There you go. If you bring your plant over.
Okay. They also gave me this lovely knee pad. All right.
There we go. So take your plant, take your hand like this, smack it once, and it should just pop out just like that. There, look at that.
Beautiful.
It's awesome. Now, one of the things you kind of want to look for when you're planting a plant is see how these roots are starting to circle a little bit?
Yes.
This is not bad. This is actually great.
Okay.
But what you might want to do is just break that just a little bit in a couple of spots.
Okay.
Or loosen them up a little bit, just like they are. Then you can put them down in there.
And why do you do that?
Otherwise, they have a tendency to circle around a little bit, and it takes them a little longer to get out into the actual soil.
I see.
So this is great. This is a perfect plant.
So this one's ready to go?
It's ready to go. Let's just
Okay.
check the height. So you might actually be you're an overachiever. You went too deep.
Oh, uh-oh.
So lift
that's
it up.
a better problem to have, right? 'Cause
Lift
we
it
can
up
put
just a
some back.
smidge. Yep. Put a little underneath. There you go. That's good.
Okay.
And try it again. And that's pretty good. All right, just like that.
And
And
then
then fill it in around it.
Fill it in. Okay.
Nice.
And then how high do I come up all the way to the...
So that's a great question. You want to come right up here to where the soil line was at on the plant. You do not want to place soil on top of the old root ball.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because then you kind of pack it down just a little bit. There you go.
And get some of these worms back, right?
Yeah. And so then what will happen is the crew will come back through and they're going to mulch this when we're done.
I see.
Now, if this was a shrub, we would want to make sure we keep the mulch away from the plant stems because that's a bad situation. That can cause some rot and have some really bad things in the stem. Perennials, though, we can come right up here with mulch and they're going to love it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
nice job.
Thank you, and thank you for teaching me how to plant today and for all
course.
the information about the botanical garden and what to feed the fish. So I
Yes.
appreciate you all having me out today.
Absolutely. Thanks for helping.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, when we come back from break, I'm going to be chatting with Rusty and Stephanie and find out what it is actually like to do and work in their jobs. Stay right there. Before the break, I tried out Rusty and Stephanie's job and I did some professional planting. And now, Rusty, I'm going to start with you. What professional experience or training did you have before you got this job?
Sure. I've been a professional landscape contractor for the last 25 plus years. I actually received a Bachelor of Science from the University of Illinois in ornamental horticulture. So that kind of kicked off my career. I spent a few years in a retail garden center and doing some landscape maintenance work here locally in central Illinois. Then moved up to the city of Chicago where I worked for one of the largest landscape companies in the country. Had some great, fantastic opportunities up there to see kind of some totally different situations than you'd ever get in central Illinois. After a while, moved down and started my own business with my wife and ran that for about a little better than a decade, and then decided, you know what, I really like the idea of being in a forest preserve. There's just a lot of benefits to that, so I moved on down over there.
Nice. And what about you, Stephanie? What was your training or education or experience like before you got your job?
Sure. So I started out at Kansas State University with a degree in park resource management. So my path was a little different than Rusty's. I spent some time as a park ranger. I spent time in zoo education. I spent a lot of time in Parks and Rec with forestry. So my direction was a little different, a lot of municipal government, and I actually spent several years in human resources before I came to the Forest Preserves. So my background's a little different, but a lot of park management and working with the people side of things a little bit more.
Right. That's a really interesting path, and especially working in park ranger and Parks and Rec. Did you ever watch the show Parks and Rec? And how true to your actual daily life is that show?
I have watched that. I would say probably to some degree, yeah. There's a lot of characters in any job, so I would say, yeah, there's probably some truth to some of that.
And follow-up question to the park rangering, what is the favorite park that you've ever had the opportunity to work in?
Oh, that's a really great question. I think the correct answer is the Champaign County Forest Preserves.
I think that is definitely the politically correct answer in this exact scenario. Well, my next question is, I got to try your job for, all of 7 minutes, essentially. And one thing that I learned is that a pointed shovel works better than a flat shovel. But what does a typical day look like for you?
So a typical day for me is coming in and lining folks out for whatever their day happens to look like. So we spend a lot of time in our botanical garden. That is a pretty labor intensive, I guess is the correct word. There's a lot of work that goes into keeping that as beautiful as it is. Mm-hmm. We also work on trails in several of the forest preserves. So we likely have something we need to do out there as well. It really depends. Every day is different. If we have wind like we do today, or we have storms, that may cause us to need to do some tree work. It really just depends. So every day we just start out and see where we are.
Nice. Yeah. And Rusty, what about you? Is a typical day very similar, or is your day a little bit different?
My day is a little bit different. I suppose like she said, it's a little bit variable based on sometimes as simple as weather or what has happened the night before or since we were last on shift. So a lot of what I spend my time doing is communicating to other departments, say this is what's going on, this is what's coming up, this is what we need, this is how we can help, whatever that looks like. I spend a lot of my time trying to remove obstacles for production staff to be able to get in and do their work whenever we need to get in and do it. And then I suppose just trying to make sure the entire team is on the same page. So Stephanie has a counterpart that runs in operations. It's more facilities management. Mm-hmm. And as a department, we work together and try to share resources where we can, whether that's people or tools, et cetera.
So it sounds like you do a lot of troubleshooting, but then also a lot of cooperative work with other parts of the Parks and Rec system.
Yeah, I think so. And, just systems, like what's the process look like? How can we make this better? How can we provide a better product to the public?
That's really good. I feel like systemization is sort of good in every business, and I feel like the more you can do that, the more efficiently things can run.
Yeah.
Well, what is your favorite and least favorite part of your job? And I ask this because I know that there are probably some people watching that are sitting there thinking, maybe this is the job for me, or they're potentially majoring in something agricultural. So I would love to know, we can start with you this time, Rusty. What is your absolute favorite thing that you get to do every day, and what is the least favorite part of your job?
I don't know that I get to do any one thing that's a favorite every single day. I would say as a whole, I absolutely love coming to work and being able to, tour through 1,000 acres of forest preserve, and it's various. So some of it's wild, some of it's untamed, and some of it is very manicured. And that juxtaposition, it's fun to be in those spaces. As far as like my least favorite. technology, I get tethered to my desk. So email,
Sure.
probably more email.
Right.
and kind of dealing with those things. And then, just sort of reacting to the unforeseen. There are events that can disrupt the entire day in a drop of a hat. So you have to be flexible. You have to be able to be responsive and have sort of things in place to be able to react when you need to.
Right. That's great. Yeah. And what about you, Stephanie? What is your favorite part and least favorite part of your job?
So like Rusty said, my favorite part is coming to work and being outdoors and with the trees. That's my favorite part, is just all the trees. So that's my favorite part about it, and that's pretty much daily, just to be out there in that. I don't know that I have a least favorite part. Probably would be more being stuck in the office, doing all of those types of things. We don't get drug into too many meetings, which is good. Mm-hmm. But really, just that part of it isn't always the best, but thankfully that doesn't take up as much time as
it could.
Yeah.
Well, and that's really interesting for me because I feel like there are things when you are working that you maybe as you're studying to try out your jobs, you don't necessarily know that that's even a part of it. And so hearing you both say that emails and things inside, that's maybe something that people don't realize, is that even though a big part of your job is outside in landscaping, you also do have to do some clerical things, answer emails, occasional meetings, things like that. So that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Sure.
Well, we are going to take another quick break right now. And when we come back, I have lots more questions for Rusty and Stephanie about what it's like to do their jobs. At the beginning of the episode, I actually tried my hand at planting, but the thing is that I got a lot of job satisfaction just trying your jobs. So I actually went back to Lake of the Woods and went for a hike, but I specifically sought out the plant to see how it was doing. And I think a little bit of that has to do with the fact that historically, I've not been excellent at growing things, and I this year have been doing a little bit better with my garden, but also I think just thinking a little bit about job satisfaction, and I really, as I'm doing all of these new jobs, learned something and wanted to see how the plant was thriving. And I'm sure it's probably the same thing for you, looking at what you do every day and then being able to walk by the plants that you're planting and the projects that you've supervised and things like that to actually see how programs are going and things are progressing. And I feel like it's, like look at that. The little plant is thriving and I'm really proud of it. Before the break, I was talking with Rusty and Stephanie about what it's like to do their jobs, and they both shared that they have a little bit more clerical work to do than they had anticipated when they were studying to be in their fields. So ultimately, during the break, Rusty, you said something that I just kind of wanted you to repeat for all of our viewers, which is about what happens as you sort of advance in a career and become a supervisor.
Sure. So you go to school to get the knowledge, right? And then the next step for you is to get some practical field experience. And then you sort of move into the teaching role. You've got to be able to bring others up and give them the expertise that you have. So in doing so, you move away from doing day to day to teaching and supervising and orchestration of crews. So it's that managerial sort of first step. And that's definitely maybe different than what some folks think, but that's kind of the natural progression.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That sort of as things advance and change, it's not obviously what they're like. If someone's watching right now and they're in school, right, it's not necessarily going to be the same job the day that they get out as it is when you're further along in your career as you advance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of opportunity for advancement typically.
Right. Well, I have a question about sort of what's something that has been like crazy or interesting or unique that has happened to you on the job that you never sort of would have anticipated happening in your field. Stephanie, do you want to start?
Sure. I would say the weirdest thing that I've had happen to me is going through a tornado at night while I was a park ranger. That was the weirdest thing I've had happen to me. It was also one of the coolest things I've had happen to me.
And what do you mean by going through a tornado?
Outside in a tornado at night, yeah.
That just kind of came out of nowhere, or wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's not, when I asked that question, not really what I was anticipating.
Yeah.
But
It was fun. Yeah.
Fun's maybe not the word. I think I would be terrified, but.
It was a little terrifying, but
yeah.
it was pretty cool. So,
yeah, that's interesting. I feel like that's maybe an occupational hazard. We could classify that as.
That is an occupational hazard that we have.
Absolutely.
Being out in the weather. So if you
for
don't
sure.
like that, then that might be a consideration.
Yeah, that's really important to note. Yes. Yeah, what about you, Rusty?
Well,
Can you top that?
No, mine's way less intense. One of my favorite memories when I got the job up in the city of Chicago, the firm that I worked for installed Millennium Park. And we were prepping to get it open for opening evening, and the night before, and crews have been working 12, 14, 16, 18-hour days trying to get this thing done because, of course, the landscape crew is always the last one on the scene. Mm-hmm. And it was like 11 o'clock at night or midnight, and everybody emptied out of the office and was going in, and we were cutting plant tags off of plants so that it could be ready for the next morning's ribbon cutting.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, you're downtown Chicago, you're looking up at all the lights, and you're in this magnificent new green space that just burst out of nothing.
Right.
And the camaraderie and just sort of that general feel was it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like it really was sort of a bonding.
Oh, absolutely.
Great bonding experience. Mm-hmm. Well, I have a final question before we wrap up. If somebody is watching right now and thinking to themselves, I think I would like to work in the parks or be a park ranger or be a professional landscaper, what is one thing that you would tell them either to, help them as they get started or a consideration like you mentioned before? What is the one piece of advice you would give somebody who's thinking, maybe I could have this job?
Sure. So I would say the one thing I would tell them is to volunteer. That's really important. Spend some time volunteering in places that you think you might want to work to really know if you're going to like this. And then interning when you're in school. Taking the opportunity to be an intern, just as much exposure as you can get is really important.
Yeah, I think that is a really good thing that you bring up is interning. I feel like it's a really valuable place to actually get hands-on experience, but then also potentially if you're in school or are looking to change careers, it's a really good way to build your network and potentially get a job right when you're ready to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. What about you, Rusty?
So one of the things that I saw often was new candidates for a job would come across and design positions, in particular landscape designers, landscape architects. I think one of the best things that somebody that's aspiring to that can do is go get some work on a maintenance crew or on an installation crew. By maintaining a site for a season, you instantly have a better appreciation for what good design looks like, and because it's more maintainable, and also what plants are working in what spaces, because you'll have that real world hands-on experience that is sometimes challenging to come by later on in their career.
That's really good advice as well, is to actually sort of learn by doing, job trial for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a challenge though. Everybody wants to sit down and do their drawings and whatnot. And,
of course.
And do on the computer, but that getting your hands dirty, that's where it's at.
That's where it's at. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today and for letting me come to your job site and try out your actual jobs. I really appreciate it. And then thank you for all of this advice that you've shared with our viewers today. Well, before I wrap up this episode of Jaclyn Does My Job, I wanted to share with you the best piece of career advice that I've ever received, which I think is really applicable no matter what your career is or what you're looking to do or if you're still in school. And that piece of advice was always try and do something that is in your field. So whatever your survival job is or your day job is, while you're on that journey to whatever your maybe full-time career is going to be, the closer you can be to what you want to be doing. And even if it's not the job you want, but if it's still in the industry you want, you're going to be hands-on, you're going to be learning things, you potentially could find the perfect mentor. And I found that to be really true in my life. I've always followed that advice, and it has gotten me very far, I feel like, in meeting the right people and sort of staying on the correct trajectory. But I feel like it's relevant no matter what you're doing. If you want to work in planting or parks and recreation, being a park ranger is a great place to start, or even an internship in a garden center or something like that could be applicable. And I think that it really rings true no matter what it is that you're trying to accomplish. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Jaclyn Does My Job. I'm your host, Jaclyn Friedlander, and if you know of a job that you think that I should try out, you can absolutely reach out to me. Just email me at ciliving@wcia.com, and I would love you to pitch me the job. It can be messy, it can be fun, but the more hands-on and the more interactive, the better. And I would really like to try out as many jobs as possible and then share all of my learnings with all of you, as well as interview and really get to the bottom of what the job is actually like. Well, I thank you so much for watching today's episode, and I hope that you will join me again for the next episode of Jaclyn Does My Job.